The woman grabbed my wrist. I was carrying a paper bag of day-old cinnamon rolls through the bakery when she stopped me near the back door. "Don't sign anything Daniel gives you tonight," she whispered. I almost laughed because I had never seen her before. Her name was Marlene Price, and she had once worked as Daniel's office manager. She told me she had seen him meeting a lawyer that afternoon in a coffee shop on East Broad Street. "He isn't only planning to divorce you," she said. "He's planning to leave you with the house debt, the children, and nothing else." I dismissed her because Daniel had always made me feel foolish for asking questions. Then she slid a folded receipt into my hand with an address written on the back. I recognized the law office immediately. That was when the warm bakery suddenly felt cold. I went home that night, hid the receipt inside my bra, and waited for Daniel to walk through the door. I didn't know it yet, but Marlene's warning was about to change everything. My name is Lily Harper, and at that time, I had been married to Daniel for 14 years. We lived in a 2-story house outside Columbus, Ohio, with a cracked driveway, a red front door, and a maple tree that dropped leaves into our gutters every November. We had 2 children, Emma, who was 12, and Noah, who was 8. My days belonged to them. I packed lunches, washed uniforms, signed field trip forms, kept track of dentist appointments, and remembered which teacher preferred email over phone calls. Daniel often said he worked hard for our family, and I never argued with him. He did work hard, but so did I. The difference was that nobody noticed when I did. That evening, I hid Marlene's receipt inside the pocket of my robe. I made spaghetti, helped Noah build a cardboard volcano, and listened to Emma complain about a girl at school who had copied her science project. I acted normal because I wanted to see whether Daniel would tell me the truth. He came home at 8:47 p.m. Rain tapped against the kitchen windows. His coat smelled like wet wool and cold air. I had made chicken parmesan for him, but he walked past the table without looking at it. "Dinner's ready," I said. "I'm not hungry." He dropped his keys into the blue ceramic bowl beside the door. I had bought that bowl at a street market in Cleveland during our 2nd year of marriage. Daniel sat down and loosened his tie. I watched him carefully. "Is something wrong?" He gave me a tired smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You really don't know?" My stomach tightened. "Know what?" He looked at my face, then at my gray t-shirt and messy hair. "You've let yourself go, Lily." I glanced down at myself. "I've been busy with the kids." "You're always busy with the kids." "There are children." That's your answer for everything. I wanted to ask about the lawyer. I wanted to place Marlene's receipt on the table and watch his expression change. Instead, I said, "Are you seeing someone?" Daniel went completely still. That silence answered me before he did. Finally, he leaned back in his chair and exhaled. "Her name is Vanessa." I knew the name. Vanessa Cole worked in his marketing department. She was 29, always perfectly dressed, and had recently started appearing in pictures from Daniel's office events. "She makes me feel alive," he said. I stared at the cold chicken between us. "I make your life possible," I whispered. Daniel's face hardened. "You're too ugly for me, Lily. I want a wife people are proud to look at." For a second, I couldn't breathe. Then he told me he had already spoken to a divorce attorney. I asked him about the house. He said he would handle everything. I asked about child support. He said we would discuss it later. I asked whether he had been planning this for weeks. He stood up. "Don't make this dramatic." The next morning, divorce papers sat beside my coffee cup. The first page listed our home, our mortgage, and several debts I didn't recognize. One account showed almost $18,000 charged to Daniel's business card. I remembered Marlene's warning. I didn't sign. Daniel came into the kitchen wearing his gray suit. "Why are you delaying this?" "I need my attorney to review it." His expression changed. "You can't afford an attorney."
I'll find a way. He snatched the papers from the table. You're making this harder than it has to be. No, I said. I'm finally reading what you're asking me to sign. For the first time in years, Daniel looked nervous. He left that morning without saying goodbye to the children. I called the number on the receipt. Marlene answered on the second ring. I knew you would call, she said. How did you know? Because Daniel always assumes women won't look closely. Marlene explained that she had resigned from his office 2 months earlier after discovering he had transferred company money into a private account. She had also seen him discussing the house with his attorney. He plans to sell it after the divorce, she said. He wants you to sign away your interest before you know what's happening. Why are you helping me? There was a pause. Because I used to believe him too. That sentence stayed with me. With Marlene's help, I hired a family law attorney named Rachel Simmons. Rachel found 3 hidden accounts, unpaid taxes, and a second credit card Daniel had never mentioned. The divorce was no longer just about a younger woman or a cruel insult. Daniel had been preparing to leave me financially trapped. I started working mornings at a bakery in Westerville. I came home smelling like cinnamon and cooking oil, helped the children with homework, and organized documents at the kitchen table after midnight. The pressure was exhausting. One night, I locked myself in the bathroom and looked into the mirror. Maybe he's right, I whispered. The words frightened me. I had never believed I was beautiful, but I had never thought I was ugly either. Daniel had repeated that word so casually that it began sounding like my own thought. 3 weeks later, Grace Miller arrived with groceries and an application. She looked at me and said, "You look terrible. I'm glad you still know how to comfort people." I brought soup, coffee, and cookies. So yes, I'm practically a therapist. The application was for the Mrs. American Grace Beauty Showcase. It was a regional pageant for married women, single mothers, and divorced women. I laughed. Grace, I have 2 children, a mortgage, and 1 dress that doesn't have a stain on it. Then wear the clean dress. I can't walk in heels. Then learn. I pushed the application away. Grace placed her hand over mine. This isn't about Daniel seeing you as beautiful, she said. It's about you seeing yourself as a person again. That night, I filled it out. Under "Why do you want to participate?" I wrote, "I want to find the woman I lost." At orientation, I stood near the exit in jeans and sneakers, ready to leave. The other contestants seemed polished and confident. I felt like somebody's tired mother who had wandered into the wrong building. A silver-haired woman with red lipstick stopped in front of me. "You're standing like you're waiting to be rejected," she said. Her name was Evelyn Brooks, a retired pageant coach. "I probably am," I admitted. She smiled. "Then stand differently." She taught me how to walk, how to answer questions, and how to stop apologizing before I spoke. The changes were small at first. I got my hair trimmed, I bought inexpensive moisturizer, I walked around the neighborhood after dinner. I stopped sleeping with my phone in my hand, waiting for Daniel's angry messages. At home, Noah practiced my pageant walk. He put a pillow under his shirt and marched across the living room while Emma laughed into a couch cushion. I laughed too. It felt unfamiliar. Then it felt wonderful. Daniel found out about the pageant during one of his weekend visits. He saw my practice shoes near the kitchen door and smirked. "So this is your new hobby?" "It matters to me." "A crown won't make you beautiful." His words hurt, but I saw something behind his eyes. Fear. He wanted me to remain the woman who signed whatever he placed in front of her. I didn't. At the preliminary showcase, I wore a navy dress Grace had bought at a resale shop. One contestant looked at me and whispered, "Maybe you should enter a motherhood event." Daniel sat in the audience beside Vanessa. Vanessa wore a cream-colored dress and held his arm like she had already won something. During the interview round, the judge asked, "What does strength mean to you?" I thought about Marlene's receipt, Rachel's legal folder, the hidden accounts, my children asleep upstairs while I sorted through Daniel's lies. "Strength is learning to question the person who trained you not to question him," I said. The room went quiet. I didn't look at Daniel. I advanced to the final round. That night, he texted me, "You're embarrassing yourself." I replied, "No, I'm embarrassing the version of you that thought I would stay silent." He called immediately. I didn't answer. The final pageant took place on a freezing Saturday night in November. Wind pushed dead leaves across the hotel entrance, and the ballroom smelled like roses and fresh coffee. I wore a deep blue gown. The color reminded me of the ceramic bowl Daniel had once thrown into the trash because he said it was ugly. I had secretly taken it back and kept it in a cabinet. That night, I wore the color he had rejected. When I stepped onto the stage, I saw Emma, Noah, Grace, and Marlene sitting together in the front row. The host asked, "What does true beauty mean to you?" I looked at my children. "Beauty is not becoming acceptable to someone who mistreated you," I said. "Beauty is building a life they can no longer control." When they announced my name as the winner, the ballroom erupted. Lily Harper, Mrs. Ohio Grace 2025. Emma ran onto the stage. Noah shouted, "That's my mom." I was still holding the crown when Daniel found me in the hallway. Vanessa was gone. "She left me," he said. I looked at him. "That's unfortunate. She said I was obsessed with you. That sounds like something you should discuss with her." Daniel stepped closer. "I made a mistake. I never stopped loving you. You told me I was too ugly for you. I was angry. You had divorce papers ready." He lowered himself onto one knee. "Please, Lily, come home. Let me take you back." I looked at the man who once expected me to beg for his attention. Then I thought about the blue bowl, the hidden accounts, the receipt Marlene had pressed into my hand, and the first time I had stood up for myself. "You don't get to take me back," I said. "I'm not something you return to the store." His face collapsed. "We can be respectful co-parents," I continued, "but I will never again make myself small enough for you to feel powerful." Emma and Noah came running down the hallway. I removed the crown and placed it in Emma's hands. "No crown decides whether you're beautiful," I told her, "and no man gets to decide either." That night, I took the old photograph from the refrigerator. The woman in the yellow dress was still smiling beside Lake Michigan. I placed my new photograph beside it. In that picture, I was wearing blue, holding a crown, and standing beside the woman who had warned me not to sign. Daniel had called me ugly because he thought beauty was the only power a woman could possess. He was wrong. The most beautiful thing I ever did was read the papers, ask questions, and refuse to disappear. If Lily's story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more emotional family revenge stories about women who finally choose themselves.